I'm Will Yeoman, and welcome to, well, it's the first pod well travelled for the 1st of March. New month, new season, autumn. In the European parlance. I can't remember what the West Australian Indigenous seasons. Do you know six seasons?
6 seasons.
Yeah, sorry. I should have prepared this before the podcast, shouldn't I?
6 seasons.
How remiss of me.
Exactly.
Stephen
right.
might be able to look it up while we're talking. Anyway, so I've got Stephen Scourfield and Penny Thomas on the show this morning. And we're talking whale sharks and motion sickness. Not necessarily in that order, not necessarily related, but possibly they are. Anyway, welcome both to the pod.
You.
Thanks, Will.
Stephen?
Yes. Whale sharks.
Whale sharks, a perennially popular subject.
Yeah, it's very interesting, isn't it? The whale shark has become such a symbol of Western Australia, where we are, and tourism here. And I guess I've been interested in the growth of it because I think it's something that we actually do very, very well. So the whale shark operators along the Ningaloo coast, which is mainly Exmouth, out of Exmouth, sort of you stay in Exmouth and then you get bussed around to the Tantabiddi ramp and go out from there to spend the day swimming with whale sharks. But also there's some operators over the years have also worked out of Coral Bay, but really it's based in Exmouth. And it is to me it's extremely well run. I mean, the boats that do it, the skippers are very careful. I mean, there are other places in the world you can swim with whale sharks, and it's perhaps not as managed as we are, as sensitive as we are. And of course, when it's entirely predictable now that the whale sharks will come back. And we've had the first swims with whale sharks on 27th of February, so the whale sharks are back. What's interesting for me in Exmouth is that it's even though it's a natural phenomena, it's a sort of, as I say, it is predictable. I was just looking, and last year, 2022, there was a 97.14 success rate for people. The 36,000 visitors went on whale shark days, and there was a 97% success rate. And most of the operas also offer a credit, so if you don't see a whale shark all day long or get in the water with one, they'll take you again, sort of thing. So it's a very, very well run operation up there, and we've had a lot of contact with a lot of the operators over many years, and it's been consistently good the way they run things. So the whale sharks are back, and that goes on till September, so there's plenty of opportunity. I wouldn't go in April when the solar eclipse is on because it'd be chockers. But,
you and I were just talking about that this morning, weren't we? It was going to be an incredible
Exmouth really is being sort of booked out for the solar eclipse on April the 20th. But interestingly, the Mackerel Islands, which is still going to get a very good view of it, we've just been chatting with the folks that run Mackerel Islands, and they've got accommodation available for the solar eclipse. So they got 3-night packages out on the islands there at Thevenard Island. So you stay in Onslow, get the boat out, stay in their cabins, cottages out on the island, and you'll see it out there without the crowds. So that's Mackerel Islands Company.
Yes.
Have got that available too as a side issue there.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's what's going on there, the coast.
Amazing. Well, Stephen, we'll get back to you in a moment. But Penny, I wanted to hear about now you are someone who actually suffers from motion sickness. So it made sense that you should write this story for us. And it's going to be published pretty soon. So keep your eyes open for it.
Yeah, we just got something recently that came through, and it was quite interesting, especially for someone that is plagued with motion sickness and has been my whole life. Often it's something that just sort of children between the ages of 2 and 12 sort of suffer with. But then if you do have any inner ear problems or suffer migraines or anything that sort of causes nausea, you're more prone to it anyway. So I do occasionally get vertigo. So I think I'm just one of those people that has my equilibrium in my inner ear is just out sometimes, and that's why I get it. But it's something that I've just been able to...
So if I did this with your chair right now, does that make you sick?
Careful. No. But it's actually quite fascinating, I guess, what experts do say, why people why people, I guess, feel motion sickness.
Right,
It's because I guess there's a mismatch or a confusion between what your brain is sort of feeling and what your eyes are actually seeing. So especially if you're in sort of or on a boat or something like that. I used to go sailing with my family, and I could never really go below deck and stay there for long, because technically you could be sitting still and my body, well, I guess my eyes couldn't see that we were sort of bopping up and down, but obviously we were. So that's why I feel motion sickness, I find, and it's the symptoms are really heightened when you go below deck on a boat. So I prefer to be up above with the wind in my face and sort of being able to, I guess, gaze off at the horizon as well. That was always a tip that I kept in my back pocket. But sometimes you can't help these things. I think I wrote about it when I was up at the Abrolhos earlier this year, and we went on a deep sea fishing adventure, and it was great for everyone else, but not for me, that experience. But it didn't last too long, and once I was back on the bigger boat that they had, I was fine again. So it's all different. But the thing that we got through this week was from Panache Cruises. They've got a sort of team of travel experts that have put together a list of foods that you can eat, I guess perhaps before you even go out traveling. If you're going, it can be on a boat, it can be on a plane, trains, or in a car or anything, depending on where you do feel motion sickness. But they've said to really consider eating and sort of bringing these foods along with you when you do go. Plain crackers, ginger apparently is really good to chew on. They've had naval seals that have done that, I think, in the past, and I don't know if it's been proven a success, but everyone says it is good, and people continue to do that. So that's another trick that you can use. Apples, bananas, and nuts are just really good snacks, because I think even when you are feeling nauseous or do suffer from motion sickness, you don't feel like you want to eat, but you really should, because an empty stomach makes it a little bit worse in those circumstances.
Can I add dry toast to that list as well?
Yeah, that's a good one, I guess.
Dry toast is gold. Dry toast and tea with sugar, particularly the Antarctica things that we do. You know, if someone gets really sick, you're right. Trying to keep them to eat something is good, but just dry toast will work.
So Stephen, is that something you've also had a problem with? Or is that more for the people that you take on tour?
No, I'm just not that sensitive. I mean, it's nice to have someone in the team like Penny who's got a higher sensibility than the rest of us. So it's nice. No, I don't know. Look, there have been moments when I thought I might be vulnerable to it, but Finnegan normally covers everything. So, but anyway, that's a separate issue. But certainly in terms of keeping people eating, I find dry toast, tea, and eventually get to lemonade if they survive.
That's always a good tip as well. The lemonade, actually. Also, I've taken Quells and things like that in the past. It's always just good to note if you don't know if you have motion sickness or not, you really want to sort of prevent it from coming on. That's probably the biggest lesson I've also learned along the way, because if you try to take any medication for it once it's kicked in, it usually won't work, and that's when you go for these types of foods. But if you do take things like Quells before you go out on a boat or on a plane or anything like that, they tend to actually ease the motion sickness, but they do tend to make you drowsy, which is the only downside.
They do. The other thing that's back, actually, Penny, is and it was, you couldn't get in Australia for years and years and years and years, is scoptamine, which those are the little stick-on plasters that you sort of put behind your ear, which going back probably 30 years, every sailor in WA used to wear one just stuck on there.
Wow.
And then they sort of were banned or not available here for long, and now suddenly they're back in chemists. So scops they can make, they can affect some people a lot. I mean, I'm not a doctor, I'm not recommending it.
Yeah.
But they certainly, it's like bulletproof.
Yeah. Even as someone that's had it, you will try anything. It seems sometimes.
It is awful.
Would they be like the wristbands, the acupuncture, or the...
No, this is serious drugs.
Right, okay, wow.
This is serious.
That's probably why they went off and back on.
That's right. You used to be able to get them in sort of South America, but you couldn't get them here. But now... And I'm told it was something to do with the supply chain issue, but the manufacturing of them, not just the content, the drug itself. But I mean, I also say I'm not a doctor, but I have found that for people who are seriously ill, Finnegan is really good for that. But can I just add that, just chatting, that so often it's such a horrible thing, and I've seen people with really suffering from it. even on whale shark days, because you're in deep water, you're suddenly outside the reef at Ningaloo in deep water, and swimming is quite demanding. I've seen people get seasick in the water, which is pretty horrible. But anyway, we'll move on from that thought. But I think if you have suffered from it, I watch people heading towards a boat or something, and they're so nervous about it that doesn't help either. And I think it sort of becomes not self-fulfilling, but I think if you suffer from it, you become even more vulnerable to it. It's terrible, isn't it?
Yeah.
That does beg the question, though. Why would you do these things at all if you know you're going to have a terrible time?
Because they're there, Will.
Yeah, that's really interesting to know. I think it was last year's Sydney to Hobart. One of the skippers suffered from seasickness, but he just loves sailing so much. And I think once you break past the barrier, there's a certain like a day or something you can be okay. But yeah.
Well,
people run marathons and they're not fun, are they?
No, that's true. But they've got other motivations, I guess.
John Bertrand, the skipper of Australia too, was very famous for being vulnerable to seasickness.
Interesting.
And,
well, there you go.
But I think you're not just talking about that. You're talking about motion sickness, which in cars,
and sometimes it does come up unexpectedly because even I've sat in the back of a Sprinter van facing the wrong way. That was actually when I was going to Kangaroo Island recently, and it was going from Adelaide to the ferry terminal, which is quite a windy road as well. And I had to just ask them to stop and get out and sit in the front because in the back of those Sprinter cars, there's no windows that go down as well. Right. So I can start to feel it, the queasiness once it starts to set in. And then I've got to pick my battles and go, do I just sit here and hope nothing happens or do I stop this from happening? And that was a good move. As soon as you've got air, I find if I've got air back into my face and I'm facing the right direction, I'm good again. And bigger boats and things are fine. Ferries I usually am fine with, but it all depends. Everyone's different and everyone's symptoms can also be different.
That's a fair point.
So ginger might be good in that circumstance.
Yeah. So they say to chew on that as well. I would usually have it in a tea or something. I don't know.
Ginger tea.
You can get the dried sort of candied
tablets as well. Yeah.
Ginger as well.
Yeah, right. And ginger biscuits, I guess. Yeah.
I wanted to ask you because I know you'd recently written about a health retreat as well, and I keep thinking about things like yoga and Tai Chi, which address issues around balance. And I'm not sure whether is there any correlation there between training yourself in that way and being able to cope with motion sickness? Yeah,
I guess that probably that's something I haven't even really thought about too deeply, but I would presume it would, because the more you get used to, I guess, doing different motions and everything, and I've done yoga before where they say if you've got vertigo, they'll give you an alternative pose if it brings it on. That's kind of what I was thinking. So I guess you would be training, and a lot of people, I guess, with inner ear problems would probably do exercises anyway to sort of help that. But it's something that's quite interesting to know, but I don't know any. No,
sure. It just occurred to me because there's that old trick, isn't there? Like when you try to balance on one leg, it's easy to do with your eyes open. As soon as you close your eyes, most people just fall straight over. Because they're relying more on their eyes and less on their inner ear, and there's centre of gravity to maintain the balance. So it's kind of interesting, isn't it?
No, that's very true. That actually reminds me of I've just always been told to drink more water, I guess, than I probably was doing before. So about 2 litres I should try to get through in a day.
Yes.
And that seems to help with the ear balance and those types of issues. The more you're dehydrated, I just feel like every symptom is exasperated. So
but I mean, talking more generally though, this idea about looking after yourself when you're traveling and things like yoga and eating sensibly, meditation even, it's quite important, isn't it, to just look after yourself and reduce the stress of travel, particularly in long haul flights.
Yeah, because you're sort of out of your normal sort of comfort zone sometimes when you are traveling. So activities like that would definitely bring a bit more peace and balance to your day and just help you, I guess, go on as well. So that's a good point.
Absolutely. Stephen, you're a seasoned traveller. Any tips for us there?
I think noise is an issue. Not noise. I think cacophony is an issue. And I do think one shouldn't make sweeping statements, but I will. Obviously. Whenever someone says that, they're going to, right?
Yeah.
But, particularly perhaps older people who, cacophony becomes a bit more of an issue, where you can't, it's that classic scenario where you can't hear anyone in the cafe because everything's clattering around. But I think that in airports too, and I think it's quite disorientating. So, in that context, if you're flying from Perth to Europe, connecting if you're not doing the direct flight, connecting through Doha is probably a very good thing for reducing stress, because one of the first contracts they put in place with Hamad International Airport was for an acoustic team from France. So the whole airport is designed to be quiet without cacophony. And it makes a big difference. If you do have that sensitivity, or you're a tinnitus person, or you're feeling very stressed about travelling, actually being in a quiet, muted environment is very helpful, because you can think. Goodness knows why they play that music in shops, because I can't. How do you shop when you can't think? Anyway, if you look around Hamad International Airport, you'll see all the acoustic panels, you'll see them on the ceiling. The whole building was built so that all the vibration goes down, specially constructed columns into the ground. And I've actually all the surfaces obviously are designed to be that. I've actually walked along there, and I've seen like a family with a trolley 4 meters away, but you can't actually hear them or the trolley.
Wow.
It's really kind of weird. But I think noise is part of it. So perhaps, like the, people wear headsets, but also maybe just earplugs.
Or noise cancelling earbuds.
Or even just earplugs.
Just normal earplugs.
Just take out a bit of the rattle that goes on when you travel, certainly in planes. And I think noise is part of the stress level.
Definitely. And if you're running behind and trying to get from one part of the airport to the other, there's nothing worse. So that sounds really great.
There's nothing worse. Yeah, it is. It's really remarkable to me. That aspect of that airport is one of the remarkable things in travel.
Just the fact that they were forward-looking enough and aware enough that this was actually an issue that needed to be addressed.
Yeah, and goodness, you can be in some, not just airports, some places where there's so much cacophony, there's so much going on that it's stressful and disorientating anyway. So think about noise levels when you travel. I wear little foam earplugs. I've got some that really suit me, and I wear them even just around airports and things, just because there's too much noise going on, and I just want to quietly think about where I'm going, where I've got to be, what time it is, what the flight number, look at the board without all the chatter and stuff going on around me.
Absolutely.
I wear them at home too. No, I shouldn't say that.
I thought the office might be a good environment
Office,
as well. It can get a little bit noisy in these open plan offices. I wanted to quickly mention, Stephen, before we finish up, that you've announced a couple of extra photo walks with phones.
Yes, we have. We've got some up there on the website on westtravelclub.com.au, and we've got a new little thing going on for people in Perth, obviously, who've got a little bit of time in the week.
Well, you could always fly over from wherever you are in the world if you're really keen.
You'll always be welcome. It increases the cost a little because you've got the airfare on top of it. But photo walks with phones have been kind of a little successful thing with us. In an hour and a half walking with Mogens Johansson, who's brilliant, and me, who's in support, for an hour and a half with your phone, we'll teach you all sorts of things about your phone, not just technically, but in composition. So we've got another one on May the 14th, but we've also launched, which was my point, Photo Walk Thursdays.
Oh, of course.
So for people who've got a bit of time in the week, or think it's worth having a day off or something, come morning off, come and join us. That's on May the 18th. So we're just doing some in the week as well, which is a bit of fun, and we'll be doing those in Perth, but we've also got some more coming up, which we'll be announcing soon in Fremantle and other places. We've done photo walks in Whiteman Park and at the Railway Museum and all sorts of things to sort of develop skills. And what we're going to do also in future is do a sort of shoot and show photo walks, which are less technical and more about just taking pictures. And we'll be marking each picture out of 10. I love that.
Hang on a second. I think you're trying to encourage people here, not put them off.
That's
very intimidating.
No, they do improve throughout the day. No, it's not intimidating at all. But look, I think thinking about and using your phone as a serious camera is the basis of this. The assignment I just did in New York, I took my 2 Canon R7s and 3 lenses and never took a shot on them. I carried them all around New York for day after day after day and just used my phone, and for me it's a iPhone 14 Pro and every picture that we've published has come from that. So,
things have
seriously
really changed so much,
seriously,
in the phone camera world. Penny, do you use your phone camera for a lot of photography for us here at the West?
I use both.
Yeah,
I really like my phone for just moments where it's just easy to get it out, and they really do take fantastic shots. That's the thing. But I have a little Fujifilm X-T4, which I love too. So I take a lot of different ones on that, but it requires a little bit more work, and because you've got to set up the shot, I guess, and make sure that there's people and everything. So your phones are really great for just snapping things and going again really fast, and you usually do get it in a couple of shots. So
it's really interesting because they're different processes, but your phone photography benefits from your camera photography, doesn't it? Because you're more conscious of framing.
Exactly, you go through all that,
rather than just snapping. I'm going to say something slightly rude now, but I'm going to say it. It's interesting because you come from you're using the camera in that process, Penny, and bringing that into the phone. Will does. It's quite interesting, people who just use their phones and take lots and lots of pictures. And I must say, on photo walks, because people say to us, "Wow, how come, your picture looks like this and mine looks like this?" And it'll just be, you can drop the phone by, 10 centimeters, 15 centimeters, change the angle slightly, and the whole picture just comes alive. And I think people who come from photography to using their phone as a camera is a really strong place, rather than people who just, taking lots and lots of snaps with their phones. It amazes me how bad some people's pictures are. And I say it sounds rude, but you think, well, how can we all be looking at the same thing? And you look along everyone's pictures, and some of them are shockers. And it is interesting, but they will improve just through practice.
I think also too, if you're someone who enjoys looking at the work of the great photographers, but also looking at painting, you start to develop an eye. You can almost short circuit that process from the the normal camera to the the phone camera. If you're looking at good work, just if it's books or online, don't you think you just develop an eye? It educates you.
Especially
composition, framing, colour,
architectural photos.
Architectural photographs.
Very inspiring.
Well, they all invariably use that 1 point perspective, don't they? Everything's kind of flat and then receding at the same time.
Yeah, that's true. And but I do see a shift with some of the people that walk with us.
Yes.
Is that the first thing we say is, well, treat it like a camera. Hold it firmly. Keep the lenses clean. All the things that we used to be obsessed about.
You're absolutely right.
But a phone's something you chuck in the bag with your keys. And, we used to be so careful about lenses and not damaging the lens and, bracing the camera, holding it very firmly, and now we hold the phone up and then bang the front to take the picture. It just makes I think that shift, learning that instantly you can touch a spot and focus on it, you can adjust the exposure, and suddenly you're thinking about this thing as a seriously good camera rather than just your phone, which you keep in your back pocket. So I think there's also that approach.
Yeah, absolutely right. Different.
And then you frame, you pay more attention.
Yeah, exactly.
More focus, which is what you're saying.
Okay, well, thank you.
Cool.
That's a very content-heavy little episode here.
Pretty snappy little episode.
Quite a few subjects at the same time. Well, thank you both for joining us, and we look forward to talking again next week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, indeed.
Well travelled.
Indeed. Thank
Okay,
you.
Bye, guys.
Thanks.